Hi everyone. I'm sure you're wondering, looking at this, what's he going to do with that? Now the old hands will look over here at this nice semi-cascade pot that I have and figure out pretty quickly that this particular shaping is going to be all about this low branch down here. This is a tree that I grew from a cutting over the past 15 years and just put some general informal upright shape onto it, and it's nice, but the only problem is it's not really working. The branching isn't dense enough and it's not really good for anything except a garden tree, and there are better ones than that out there. So we're going to shape a semi-cascade tree out of this low branch here and do some deadwood up to here. So let's get started here with the big chop. Now for this one we're going to use a pruning saw, and we're just going to go right off about here like this, and we'll kiss that goodbye. And let's see if we have a big concave cutter to take off this other branch. Take off a few secondaries here first and see if we can go right through this here. Yep, there went that. And then there are some other little branches here. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to do a very substantial reduction on the root ball here. And after that we can work on cleaning and shaping the deadwood and then shape the live part of the tree. So at this point what we'll do is we'll take it around to the potting bench. We'll do the root reduction off camera, since I've done that plenty of times before, and we'll return once we're ready to work on the tree farther. We have performed what is perhaps the largest by percentage root reduction I've ever done. As you can see, about 90% of the tree's root ball is now gone, and the only reason we can get away with that is, one, this has really good dense roots near the trunk base, and two, we also took off most of the tree's foliage except for the one branch that we're going to work with. The next thing we need to do is pot the tree, but first I need to put some soil in the pot. I haven't done that yet because I wanted to show you that we're going to wire the tree in with a fairly thick piece of wire so that it stays in the position that we want it to be in. Part of that is because we're changing the planted angle of the tree with a very small amount of roots, and part of that is because of the way the tree was situated before, we're going to have to do what little wiring we're going to do, and our gin and shari carving, which is going to be substantial. We're going to have to do all of that after we put it in the bonsai pot. So let's get some soil in the pot and start working on planting the tree in the pot. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of soil in the bottom of the pot here so the tree's got something to grow into. That may be a little too much, but we'll test fit the tree here and we'll see. Now because this is a semi-cascade, the cascading branch has to dip below the rim of the pot, and we may actually turnbuckle that one just a little bit later on. But this is a pretty good position and angle. And interestingly enough, this tree has two possible fronts. We can either use this side, or we can do a 180 and we can use this side. And right now, although I haven't decided yet, I actually kind of like this side better because it shows the main trunk's movement a little bit better. So let's see about tying this thing in here with our wires. And this is just going to be a simple single tie to the bottom of the pot, and then the soil will hold it in once that's done. Now we can actually tighten that a little bit farther with a pliers. I have an old slip joint pliers right here that I use for various tasks. So first we'll cut off some of the excess. so that we can gain access to the wire, and then we'll work on tightening it down here, just like this. Now you don't want to go too far. You can break the wire or damage the tree's roots, and that's probably good enough for now. So let's add some soil here. Now you'll notice at this potted angle some of the root ball is going to end up above the soil, and we're going to address that probably a year or so from now, once the tree gets happy in its new situation. But for the time being, it won't hurt it much to have that above the soil line, and it's necessary in order to get the angle and generate the visual drama that we want to create with a semi-cascade style tree. So we'll just backfill right in here and make sure we get it all in there really nicely. And then, because the tree's been through a rather traumatic experience, we'll water it in here. So, okay. Now that we have the tree in its pot, and at this point we've pretty well decided that this is going to be the front of the tree, we have to start working on pruning it. Now, it's a good idea if you're a little bit in doubt to leave something on. And to give you an example, I've thought about pruning the cascade branch back to here and using this as the tip. But I thought maybe I don't necessarily want to do that, so what I'm going to do for now is come back to here, and then I can use either one of these as the tip growth, or make dead wood, or whatever it is that I want to do with it. So we're just going to take that off, and then we'll take another look at the tree. And that gives us some pretty interesting possibilities in terms of the tip foliage, back branches. So now we just got to work on some cleanup. Now this is all going to be dead wood here, and I don't know if we'll have time to do that with this video, or if we'll do a follow-up video carving the dead wood, but at least what we can do here now is clean all the foliage off it. So we'll just work our way down it and take off all the growth. Now this may be our first branch, but it juts right out the front of the cascade branch, and I'm not sure that I can wire this in an artful way to disguise that, so we may end up using this. But either way, we need to clean up the undergrowth along the cascade branch. Now I may end up leaving a few of these. This will nominally be our back branch, but it's not in the best of health. So we're going to leave a little bit of these adventitious shoots here, just in case we need them later. So we'll clean up all the diebacks. Now around the front of the tree, I'm definitely going to take off the small growth on our future gin and shari. But as we work down towards where our first branch is likely to be, on the Cascade branch. Just want to clean this out here. I want to be a little careful because there may be something that we can use down there. So we'll just kind of take a look in here. And this isn't really large enough or strong enough to use, and it's going to detract from the shari. So now that I see it clearly, I'm going to go ahead and take it off. Okay, and we've got a few more diebacks here that got to be cleaned out. And this completes our pruning. Well, it almost completes our pruning. Now that I'm lifting up the branches we're going to keep, we still see a few more little things that need to be cleaned up. Now I'm going to keep this one, not that one. And then we'll just go back in here, clean that off. We just generally want to clean it up, get it ready to a point where we can think about wiring it. And we are very, very close. Still deciding on this one. I'm going to make a bold decision here. Take that off. This is going to be our first branch. What I've decided to do, rather than carve dead wood today because the weather's a little too moist and this tree is still full of sap, is I'm going to strip the bark, then I'm going to let it dry out for a couple of weeks, and then we'll actually carve and shape the dead wood in a later video. We've just finished wiring the live growth on the tree, and you'll see we stripped most of the bark from the shari, the gin shari, the main trunk, and this pretty much concludes the styling exercise for this tree here. So let's take a look around it and see what we've done. You'll recall we started with a very large juniper and reduced it down to one branch and a fraction of its former size. And this is the result, a very interesting semi-cascade tree with very significant shari growing up off the top. Well, sharis don't grow, but it does issue from the top of the tree. What's anticipated in the future is that the foliage pads will fill out and will be arranged towards the back of the shari, and that this area here will start to fill out too as the tree emerges from dormancy. Now it's important to note that when a juniper like this is dormant is pretty much the only time you can get away with doing the kind of very substantial root reduction and foliage reduction work that we did on this tree. So we'll do our usual slow 360 and take a look at what we've accomplished here. Thank you for watching, folks. This is what the tree looks like when it's being posed for a series of photographs, which I'll use either for the website or for the second edition of the existing ebook or for an upcoming ebook. This isn't quite the right die or stand for it. I intend to make one specifically for this tree, and that will be the subject of a later video. But anyway, here it is, roughly as it would appear if it were in a bonsai show, and hopefully by later this year when show season arrives it'll be out of dormancy and growing nice and healthy and will look even better than it does right here and now. Thank you for watching, folks.